Once a cop, let it knock, yeah. I for one think we should celebrate redemption instead of condemning it. Corey Pegues, what up? Talking truth, bruh. Check it out. Once a cop.
Welcome to Corey's Corner, where we speak truth to power and bring you real conversations. I'm your host, Corey Pegues. Today, we're joined by a powerhouse leader whose journey begins in the heart of Brownsville, Brooklyn. Born and raised in the Prospect Plaza houses, Assemblywoman Latrice Walker is no stranger to struggle, resilience, and the fight for justice. A proud product of New York City public schools, she sharpened her mind at Brooklyn Tech. Wow, techie.
Tech night.
Went on to earn her bachelor's degree at SUNY Purchase and later her law degree at Pace University. Before politics, she was chief counsel to Congresswoman Yvette Clarke and a lawyer fighting stop and frisk and housing evictions. In Albany, she now chairs the Assembly's Election Law Committee, serves on housing, judiciary, codes, and ways and means, and is best known as the engine behind the New York's 2019 bail reform law. When rollbacks came, she went on a 19-day hunger strike, showing the grit and courage that defined her leadership. She's a community mentor, a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority, a woman of faith at Wayside Baptist, and above all, mom to her beautiful daughter now. Assemblywoman Latrice Walker, her story, her fight, her vision, right here on Corey's Corner. Let's get to it. So happy to have you.
Thank you for having me, Corey. It's about time.
Yes.
Yes.
But before we go into this, I'll be remiss if I don't shout out my sponsors. This episode of Corey's Corner is brought to you by our sponsors, Corrupt Mob MCs, Brotherhood Meets the Open Road, and Vodkeela. When you mix vodka and tequila, you get Vodkeela. Crafted for those who live life with no limits. Vodkeela, not just a drink, it's an experience. Thanks to both of you for sponsoring Corey's Corner. Assemblywoman Latrice Walker, let's go to the very beginnings. Let's start. For those who may not know you personally, can you share a bit about your upbringing and the values your family instilled in you?
Wow. Yes. So my family migrated to Brooklyn, New York from the South. Both of my parents are from South Carolina. They came up to New York in the 60s, looking for opportunities and to create a better life for their children than they had growing up in the country. I had three brothers. Well, they had three sons at the time. And, I came around when my youngest brother was 14 years old. So I grew up with three bonus fathers in addition to my dad. And my brothers were no strangers, to the streets. One of my brothers was murdered in 1987. He was that dude. They called him Madman in the streets. And so I had an interesting upbringing because of these three big brothers and their sort of notoriety. I was the little girl no one really, can I say fucked with?
Yes. Oh, yeah. No one fucked with
because
Latrice.
My brother was known for, this one knockout punch that was just incredible.
So he was a one-hitter quitter.
One-hitter quitter. And I've seen it on a number of occasions. And so, for me, it was, if you saw her, you were walking her to school, you were taking her to the store, making sure she was in the house by the time, the street lights came on. I love double dutch. I love playing pool. I love going to the center, the NYPD Center, the NYPD development that I grew up in. Love sitting outside on the bench, just kind of chilling with my friends. But the fact of the matter is that because I had such a sheltered life, amongst a lot of the chaos that was taking place in Brownsville, Ocean Hill, Brownsville in the 90s, it was the safest place I knew, right? Because I knew that no matter where I went, that I felt safe. And I take that love for the community, me going to the store and all of the barbecues and taking us to Great Adventure. Like, I take that with me everywhere that I go. When I went to Brooklyn Tech, it exposed me to another group of friends, then went off to college, went to law school. And when I was in law school, I'm reading about stories of the community that I was born and raised in. And I'm like, wait, what? And I always remember the first time someone told me I was poor. I was in the 8th grade. And I was like, what you talking about? I'm not poor.
Right.
I got these two-tone Guess jeans, Gloria Vanderbilt jeans, my Lotto sneakers. You couldn't tell me anything.
That's a very interesting perspective, because we grow up in a low socioeconomic area and neighborhood. It's violence, and it's our life. We don't even think it's dangerous growing up there, but all of these people on the outside is like, oh, I'm not going over there. You're going to get robbed. You're going to get killed. Like, all of this stuff is happening around us, but it was almost like a way of life.
Right.
And I figured that was for you also. So
But
I know the matriarch, hold on, let's get to this.
Okay.
The matriarch of your family, your dear mom, transitioned about a year and a half ago. And yes, it's, even though I lost my parents at my mom at 17 or 18, and you lose your mother in your 40s, it's still, the pain doesn't go away.
Yo,
Now,
crazy.
how has her passing changed you?
So when my mom died, it was like I mourned my whole family's loss. My dad died in 93. You heard me say my brother died in 87. My first brother, my brother Mark. And then I lost my brothers Tommy and Jerome. And so it was now this little girl who had been protected by everybody, having to stand on her own and stand alone. And so every now and then I still wake up and I'm like, wow, I got to do this by myself. No more big brothers to call when people, start getting crazy out here.
Right.
And my mom, she was with me everywhere. She helped me raise my daughter. The only reason why I was able to be in the assembly and traveling back and forth to Albany was because I had my mama.
Right.
And so it's one of the hardest things I think I ever have to go through. I think about her daily, but I know the strength and the grit that she instilled in me, is still here. And sometimes I go in my quiet space and I still talk to her.
Let's talk about Niles. Beautiful Niles, your daughter.
Oh.
How has she changed? How has she changed your life?
Well, first of all, I never even saw myself having kids, right? I was always the auntie. So, she popped up on the radar screen, and I was like, a what? And I was 32. So I was, living my life, but I have lived.
Right.
And so it was a great time to be able to transition into motherhood. Nile is 13 years old. And today was her first day of 10th grade.
Right.
And so I know that, she's brilliant. She's president of the NAACP Youth Council, Brooklyn branch.
Okay, Niles.
Yes,
I see you. I see you, little niece. I see you, girl.
She's doing her thing. And so I'm immensely proud of her. And we just became members of Jack and Jill. And Nile is really just taking, the world by storm.
I love it. I love it. You wear so many hats: public servant, mom, lawyer, soror. And I just recently found out you're a professor also at Medgar Evers College. Wow. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
I taught there. I was a professor there for
Yes.
a little, I did a flyby.
Yeah? It's a real story of ADHD. When you just, you don't know how to say no to people and circumstances and things, and just want to have your finger on the pulse everywhere, every place that you can, and just be involved. And teaching has been certainly a blessing, because you realize that when you're doing this fight, right, when as a law student, being a few in a large class of students who are Black and brown, and then not even to mention to be a Black woman. I think there might have been 3 Black women in the class in my initial law school class. By the time I got to the end, I think one of those students, she didn't make it through. Another one became a day student, and then there was me. And it was an interesting set of circumstances. You know how important it is to build a bench. You know that your lived experiences and your life experiences really create the type of person and leader and professional that you're going to be. And so it was important to take my talent to Medgar Evers College because I know that the young people there, grew up with similar circumstances that I have. I taught at Hunter. I love teaching because the mind is so brilliant. And it gave me new ideas and ways to think about things and, think about my work. Think about the type of lawyer that I am because I still do practice law. And so when we think about criminal justice reform, we know that it's ever ending and that, we really have to build out our next group of leaders in this field.
What inspired you to step into the political arena, other than obviously working for a congressional member?
Right.
Was you bit by the bug before then?
No. Actually, one of my best friends, closest friends, Alika, she was the political beast of us all. I wanted to do,
Shout out Alika.
Shout out to Alika Ampry Samuel,
yes,
who is now the assistant commissioner over at HPD, and we're very proud of her. I remember saying to her, Alika, this politics stuff is for the birds. I want to be an entertainment lawyer. I want to see my name in big lights. And that was the route that I went. I was an entertainment lawyer. I worked with some of the best and the brightest in the field. Londell McMillan and the McMillan firm. And yes. And so Londell was also representing and working with Yvette Clarke. And the buildings that I grew up in, Prospect Plaza, they had been knocked down in this Hope 6 project. And everybody was given this promise to return. They dispersed an entire community of folk all over the place. And that opportunity to return just never came. And one of the things that my mom had said to me was that if there's ever a way for you to prevent what happened to us from ever happening to any family, I want you to do that. And as I was learning about, all the work that Yvette was doing through Dr. John Flateau and Roger Green, former Assemblymember Roger Green, as well as Alika, it was like, she was representing the neighborhood I live in, I'm born and raised in. I'm like, I gotta go with her. So she came in the office one day. She had on these fly white boots with this fur and stuff on it. It was white leather. And I was like, that's what's running for Congress. Okay, yes. I can do this. And I, approached her about an opportunity to come on board with her, left the law and got into politics. And I guess the rest, as they could say, is history.
The rest is history. Fun fact, when I was commanding officer of PSA 2, I had all the housing developments in Eastern York, Brownsville, and Crown Heights. And Assemblywoman was working for congressional member Yvette Clarke. And I remember those days. I was a new commander. You had just came on. You was a pit bull. You was leaning on my line, like calling me all the time. Your cops ain't doing. I'm looking at your cops right now, Commander. The cops ain't doing this. The cops ain't doing it. So I can truly attest to your vigor, your strength, and where your heart is for your community, because I used to be like, look, please don't have Latrice call his phone no damn more. Please stop her from calling.
Well, I learned a lot from those calls, though.
Yes.
It was like...
And I always answered.
Yes. And you brought me into the war room.
Yes.
I always remember that. And got in there and saw one of my cousins was on the top of the list.
Yes.
Remember Quasar Rowland?
Yes. Yes. My top 17 list, yes.
I'm like, what is he doing in here? So, but all of those things, I think, is really what helped me. And at the end of the day, it's like, you got your books open and you're watching as things are happening and unfolding right before your eyes. And so you're trying to figure out, like, well, what does it mean when someone's walking furtively? I don't know what that means. I'm on the terrace. I'm living in Glenmore at the time.
Right.
And I was like, well, why are you chasing him? And next thing you know, guns start flying, cops going this way, perp going that way. I'm like, what is happening here?
I remember one day you called me and you was like, your cops ain't doing this, cops ain't doing that. I said, Latrice, where you live? Because there's no way you seeing all of this crime. You was like, I'm in Glenmore houses. I'm like, girl, you got to move. You got to stop calling my line.
Yes. But you know,
I
mean,
love it.
I
But
grew
it's
up
good
with
that
all
you,
of that.
right, that you grew up
Right?
there, you could feel it, you could smell it, you could taste. You already knew what it was. And I love the fact that you would call me about my cops, because you know I was on those cops like, this is my community.
We
Y'all
missed
better,
you.
y'all better be out there doing the right thing. All right.
Yes,
So
yes.
let's talk about some
get you
serious.
back. We got to get you back involved.
You've been a leading voice on bail reform, which is a huge issue out here. Actually, now the president has made it a national thing. But let's talk about, for the everyday New York City listeners, can you break down what bail reform is really about and why it matters?
So, bail reform, what initiated my drive to want to do it was there was a family that came into the office. A young man had gotten picked up in MGV, Marcus Garvey Village. Bail was set on him. His family was trying to figure out how to pay the bail. Grandma came in. She's like, you know, I got my medication to pay for and all these different things. His sister came into the office. His sister worked. And she was like, well, I got to pay my rent. I got to do this. And everybody was trying to figure out how to barter from one avenue in their lives to help to pay his bail. We were able to get him funding from the bail fund to pay the bail. And so once that took place, there was $1 hole that was put on him. So I wasn't able to get in touch with the sister, but I did get in contact with another person who was connected to him. And I said, somebody got to get downtown to go pay this $1 bail. And she said, I don't have the car fare. And so to me, it was like, even $1 was a problem because of the transportation barrier. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like he was being accused of some major crime. Mm-hmm. And really, quite frankly, he had to go to work the next day, and was trying to get home, had a brand new baby, and was really, you know, a decent dude. And what brought him to the office that day in our building was that he heard that there was an I-card on him, and he wanted to come and turn himself in. An
I-card, for the listeners, is he was wanted for questioning or something.
Right. Of an incident that took place, which was stupid in and of itself. He wanted to turn himself in, and he knew that Alika and I were both attorneys, and came over to the office for us to be able to walk him to the 73rd Precinct. We got in touch with the commanding officer. It was a holiday weekend. And so they were like, okay, well, we're leaving. Things are shutting down. He can come back on Monday. When he walked out the door, he just got, you know, attacked, if you will, by officers as we understood was from One Police Plaza, but who knew where they were from. And so all of this was just really a chaotic scene at our offices, and it just kept drawing itself out. So we knew, of course, growing up, that bail is a huge barrier, because the only difference in bail is if you got money to post bail, you post it. If you don't have money to post bail, you sit there. And so one of the things that was happening was you had people who were charged with murder. If they were wealthy, murder of multiple people. If they were wealthy, they can pay their way to be able to walk out those doors to fight their case as free people.
Right.
But if you jump the turnstile in some instances, you wouldn't do that, right? And so we were able to fight in order for low-level misdemeanors, all misdemeanors and low-level felonies to be able to have no cash bail. And then there was, you know, another set of bail that was set under different circumstances for different crimes that were committed. But one of the key elements of bail reform was that it gave judges more tools in their toolbox than they ever had. So if the issue was a housing issue that brought someone to the criminal justice system, then there were housing advocates that you could be connected with. There are substance abuse advocates that you could be connected with. You weren't just sending people back out onto the street without any connection.
Right.
And so that was another thing that we did. So we're watching the president as he's making, you know, his recommendations. And one of the things he says, oh, they're letting, you know, murderers back out in the street. No. That's what was happening all along.
Right.
But now we have an opportunity to look at a whole individual. There are algorithms that get set in order to determine how much a judge sets bail at. If you don't have a home telephone number, if you don't have an address, and if you don't have a high number of years of school completed, that will increase your opportunities to have bail set and have bail set on you at high levels, as opposed to having a telephone number, right? And so if you can't pay your cell phone bill, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to sit on Rikers Island.
Right.
When we first started that, there was tens of thousands of people who were sitting in Rikers Island for no reason. By the time we were done, there are about 7,500 people, but that number is growing each and every day.
Right.
The president right now has no authority or no ability to be able to tell states how to do public safety. So we know that it's a threat. And New York State doesn't have cashless bail because every time I turned around, bail reform was on the chopping block. And one of the people who was advocating about the changes to bail, they said to me, oh, well, if a person went into a CVS and they stole a can of soda, and then they left and then they went into a Rite Aid and they stole a can of soda, and then they left and they went into another whatever pharmacy and they stole a can of soda. I'm like, do you realize we're talking about somebody who's stealing a can of soda?
Exactly.
And so that's bail reform. It's a system that is unfair, it's unjust, and it criminalizes poverty. And that's a system that we tore down. And I will continue to defend it even on my 2-time hunger strike that I went on, just drinking Gatorade and water and bone broth.
Wow. And you had to lose some weight.
I lost 50 pounds.
How many?
50.
Wow. Shut that down because I gotta do that diet tomorrow.
Well, it wasn't a diet, right? Some people say hunger strike. That's what it's called politically, but in the biblical world, in the spiritual world, we know that I was fasting.
You was fasting. Okay. What are the biggest misconceptions you wish the public understood about bail reform? They make it the boogeyman, like they're letting all these criminals out. They're letting all these criminals out. But you just gave the perfect example of like they just stole 3 sodas. Yeah, all right. So it's 3 larcenies. He committed 3. So they'll be like, he committed 3 larcenies in one day, and like, yeah, he took a Sprite, a Pepsi, and a Coke.
Yes.
And they make it the person to the boogeyman.
Yes. A Tylenol, some Zyrtec. I mean, but they make these people a part of these entire criminal enterprises, right? And it's a way of living. I had a conversation with folk at the retail, the supermarket organization, and they were talking about, supermarket theft. So I said, one of the things that we've done is that we saw that there's a connection between the number of people in my district who are eligible for food stamps, men who are eligible for food stamps but have not applied. And we've been trying to get them to come into the office to apply for food stamps. But if they put stations in their supermarkets to help people apply for food stamps, then maybe they'll use their food stamps to buy the chicken instead of, stuffing it in a bag someplace.
Right.
People are stealing food because food is expensive. And people are unemployed and underemployed. These are societal issues that are backdooring us into central booking. And we're not talking about, now, as you said, everybody out here wants to be safe. I want to be safe where I live. Mm-hmm. And so, no, I'm not trying to undermine public safety. When there are circumstances that calls for people to be brought through the criminal justice system, make sure that it's fair, it's just, and it's equitable, and that you're not railroading people. But we respect that process. I'm a lawyer first.
So can I put you on the spot right now looking in your camera and you say, I'll say it first, some people need to be in jail.
Who you want me to say? Who them people
I want
are?
you, we do have some criminals in our communities that need to go to jail.
So there are some criminals within our community and at the White House that need to be in jail.
Okay, and that's what I'm talking.
One of the things that we hear all the time is that no one is above the law, right? And so at the end of the day, we all want to be safe within our communities. And there are some people who deserve to be brought through the criminal justice system in order to make sure that our children are able to grow up. And we will fight for those individuals, too, to make sure that whatever their legal process is fair, is just, and is equitable. But at the end of the day, no one is shielding people. We all want to be safe.
That's right. That's the main point. if you don't get no takeaway from what she said about bail reform, that last statement, they're not shielding people. Are we going to get some people sent through the system? Yeah, that happens all the time. But it wasn't purposeful, the bail reform, to let criminals go away. It just baffles me how the media makes this seem like y'all just like Oprah Winfrey up there and like, you get out of jail, you get out of jail, you get out of jail.
But at the end of the day, remember, there's still a case.
Yes.
Right? The person is just home as they're defending their cases.
Right.
And we have seen statistically that people are not absconding. Like, they are showing up at court. How do we know people are showing up in court? Go look at the rolls upstate. Go look up there. They are full. Some of them are thin and out, thankfully. But people are being sentenced each and every day.
I got a question that's not on my cards, and I know you know the answer to this. Has bail reform taken less people out of jail or put more people in jail? So
I will say this, to answer your first question. There is no correlation or connection between bail reform and the rise in crime. That's
what I wanted to hear.
When we initially passed bail reform, quite frankly, crime was going down. And with all of the changes that we have seen happen with bail reform, we are noticing that the number of people who are incarcerated pre-trial at Rikers Island in particular are growing. And again, now the kids who may have gotten into a fight in the park, or the turnstile jumper, or the mom, stuffing the Pampers in a bag, or the formula, that these are people who, we've tried our best to protect, but those numbers now are definitely beginning to spike and trend in the opposite direction.
I love it. If you had the President of the United States in front of you right now, what 3 things would you tell him he needs to change immediately?
He needs to change wrongful convictions. We have seen that there have been laws across the state, including the Rockefeller drug laws and other laws, who were giving people, multiple year sentences for crimes if they were committed now. They would not receive those sentences. So we have been pushing for a second look, for people to be able to take a look at some of these 25, 35, 60-year, 99-year sentences to see whether or not they are still valid.
I know 2 people who just came home from jail.
And one, I'm sure I helped.
36.
Andre Brown?
We're not naming no names on here. 36 years in prison for drugs. How long you gonna keep people in jail for selling drugs?
That definitely wasn't one of the ones that I worked on. Maybe though,
Well, you know him if I said his name, but we're not naming nobody.
Well, there are a number of individuals who fall into those categories, and quite frankly, they are not reoffending. They are going back and helping other people who are in, situations that are similar to theirs come home. And we believe families need to be together. And as long as they have the services that, should be provided in order to make people, whole citizens, exercising opportunities for education and workforce, I think that we could begin to fight crime, because we know that the safest communities have the most resources, not the most police officers.
Now's the fun part of Corey's Corner. We have a segment called Spitfire. I don't know if you know, but I DJ, and I'm a basement DJ, and my name is DJ Spitfire.
He said that, and he's talking about me with
yes,
my 5011 job.
We created this segment called Spitfire, where I'm going to ask you rapid fire questions, just 1 minute, minute and a half. You got to give me one-word answers or yes or no. It's a fun game. You can't mess this up. You ready?
Okay.
Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
Your favorite Brooklyn spot to eat?
Saucony's.
Blue or red?
Blue.
If you weren't in politics, what career would you be in?
A doctor.
One word your daughter Niles would use to describe you?
A momager.
Momager, okay. Your favorite book or author?
Corey Pegues, Once a Cop.
Oh, nice. Nice answer. We love it.
It's on my shelf. And actually, I asked my staff if she read your book.
I love it. Most inspiring woman in your life.
Carolyn Richburg.
Okay.
She was my 6th and 8th grade teacher.
Okay, nice. You know, I only remember one teacher named Miss Schuller. That's crazy. I can't remember nothing. I should find her. Sneakers or heels?
Heels. High. Very high. Stiletto.
I already knew that answer. Dream vacation spot?
Dubai.
Dubai. You can't smoke weed out there. You know that, right?
Can you eat it?
I don't think they got no weed out there in Dubai. They put people in jail. Last question. Justice in one word.
Walker for DA.
Oh, what county? Oh, that's Kings County. And who the hell is it then? I can't remember.
Eric Gonzalez, who's doing an amazing job.
Eric Gonzalez, yes. My man E. Okay, he's gonna be on Corey's Corner too. That was great. Thank you for participating in Spitfire segment. Before we dive to the next segment, I want to take a moment to share something personal. My book, Once a Cop, The Street, the Law, Two Worlds, One Man, is a memoir basically about my life, growing up as a misguided young kid and then making something out of myself. So if you get an opportunity, a chance, it's on Amazon. It's in every Barnes & Nobles in the country. You can look in. If you're a visual person, it's an adaptation to the book on Hulu, a feature documentary called A Cops and Robbers Story, streaming on Hulu and Apple TV.
It's that time of year again. Angels Heart for Hope Foundation, MS Strong, second annual sneaker ball is going down in Rochdale Village in the community center, October 18th, Saturday, October 18th. We're getting close. And listen, all we're doing is providing funding and equipment for people who suffer and are afflicted with multiple sclerosis.
I'm Assemblymember Latrice Monique Walker, and you're listening to Corey's Corner, where he always keeps it right, not real.
You're also a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority. How has being part of that sorority shaped your leadership and service?
Well, I'll first begin by stating that our international grand basileus, Dr. Stacy N. Grant, is a proud resident of Queens, New York. And so, I even up to going to the Labor Day parade yesterday, she was, on the Kathy Hochul government group as one of its announcers. And so, I look each and every day at the woman who leads the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated organization. I think about the principles of scholarship, service, sisterhood, and final womanhood, and every day I live my life to exemplify that. We have a number of auxiliary organizations for our young people, which includes the Pearlettes, the Amiquettes, and the Arcanettes, which is our babies who are growing up and they're watching us and the type of women that we are. I always say scholarship is important to me because they know that when I come up, I come to serve and correct. At one point in time, I always remember Isis on my staff who tells me that red pens are outlawed because, it's just, I told you one of my favorite people is my 6th and 8th grade teacher who was a grammar person.
Make sure Isis know that I came prepared with a blue pen. See, blue pen.
And I didn't have any sisters. And so I have this amazing organization of women who support me, who pour into me each and every day. They don't just pour into me, but also my daughter. And there were a number of different organizations. Like I became a member I became a Zeta, as you would say, as an adult, right? Like I came in through the grad chapter. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, as many different organizations was looking at me, I was looking at them as well. And Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated just exemplify everything that I saw in myself. Number one, I always saw that those were the smartest girls, that, they always were in the library doing their thing. And I know that, I always love the opportunity to have a quiet nerd about me. And then one day I was talking to my mom and I was doing my ancestry thing, and I ran across this name, and it was Aunt Camille. And she says, "Oh, well, her obituary is in the room. You know how mothers do, they keep everybody's obituary."
Right.
So I started reading it, and she was a Zeta. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a legacy.
Right.
And so it's in my blood,
Yeah.
and so it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Speaking about young people, many young people feel disconnected from politics. What message do you have for them about their power to create change?
Well, one of the things that we've seen is that young people definitely change the dynamics of this mayoral race. My daughter, as I mentioned before, who's 13, and she's on TikTok and Instagram and all the other social media platforms, we saw how young people were able to use social media to really set up a following based on issues and campaigns and politics. And she was citing some folk, their platforms to me before I even knew what their platforms were. And so I believe that through social media and the connections that people can have with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people at one time, it's an extremely powerful tool. And I think that the more we really find the utility of it, we'll see more young people involved in politics.
When history is written about this moment right here, 2025, September 2nd, September 3rd, what do you want people to remember about Assemblywoman Latrice Walker?
She came, she saw, she conquered.
Boom! I love it. She came, she saw, she conquered. You don't even need to expand on that. If your younger self could see you now, standing in your current shoes, what do you think she would say?
Oh my God. I would never think that this girl who was voted class clown in Brooklyn, Texas.
Nah, you was voted class clown.
I was class clown.
I can see.
Me
I
too.
can see.
Would be doing what they're doing. And hopefully she would tell me that she's proud of me.
I love it. Okay, we winding down. 2 more questions. The New York City mayoral race is heating up. Will you be endorsing a candidate for the 2025 New York City mayoral race, and why?
I endorsed someone for the primary. I endorsed former Governor Andrew Cuomo. At this time now, I am, taking a lay of the land and trying to figure out whether or not I'm going to be involved through an endorsement or, just sort of stay out of it. There are a lot of issues that I'd like to see, of course, discussed, which is criminal justice reform, making major investments into communities who have been ignored for far too long, investing in women, investing in children. And so, quite frankly, I will be meeting and having conversations with all of the candidates to think about whether or not it's worth it to me to put my name on their aspirations, because I recognize the gravity of it, right? Like, justice is in my DNA. It's what I stand for.
Mm-hmm.
And if I feel like if I put my name on you, that means that whatever that value is, that's who you are as well.
Right.
And I'm just not sure yet in terms of who exemplifies that in the best way.
I'm anybody but Eric, so whoever else you endorse, fine. But he gotta go. It's just time. I'm sorry, y'all.
But how we got there, though? Like, y'all was cool.
We still cool. I'm still cool. If I see him now, I'm gonna give him the soul clap, the hug. I mean, he might not.
You.
He might not. But I gotta
you.
call him out on it. It's too much. It's been
understand.
3 years and
I
8
understand.
months. It's been a long time. I sat on my hands.
It's not
for
personal, right?
No, it's never personal. I'm just looking at actually what's going on, and the Terrell Anderson thing pushed me all the way over the edge.
Oh my God! I love me some Terrell Anderson.
It pushed me over the edge.
First of all, we went and found Terrell Anderson when Terrell was at the Juve briefing. I will always remember, it was years ago. I might have even been staff at that time. Mm-hmm. And Terrell said, I want to come home. I want to come back to my community. Everything that I learned about policing, I want to come home.
That's right.
And we fought until we were able to get Terrell Anderson, and we had to really go up against some strong principalities.
Right.
And once we had him, oh my God, crime, community, everything changed. He started this initiative called the Brownsville Safety Alliance.
Yes.
And there was like this where he pushed the police officers back
Took
to the
cops
perimeter
off the streets
and
let the
put
community.
us.
Yes.
Right? I was out there too. Those late night,
Right.
you know, sitting on the block just checking for people. And if there was fights that were about to take place, community interrupters, violence interrupters, Bevo, all of the different groups, they came out and we were able to stop that. And in this area, which was on Mother Gaston, between Belmont, picking Belmont, and then even going down to Sutter, which is like one of the, like if there's anything that's going to happen, it's going to happen on this block.
That's right.
And there was not one incident. Quite frankly, the only time 911 was called when the bus driver made a mistake and pressed the button on his bus. And that was the only incident that took place. When at the end of the day, talking about seeing crime, my daughter witnessed a police-involved shooting on this very same block, which really changed her life.
Right.
Forever. And in a moment where, you know, I wanted to protect my daughter and as well as all the other kids that I saw around, like it was a crazy situation. It was mayhem. But this was the block that Terrell Anderson really, really made his priority. And people have been coming from Denmark and all over the world just to learn about the Brownsville Safety Alliance. So we're proud of him.
And so you understand, Terrell's like a little brother to me. He should probably have at least 2 stars on his shirt by now. And to watch the mayor who, in the early 90s, I was in 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care, and we was fighting for situations like this. And to see him leave Terrell out to dry was like,
well, we got him. We have him.
That was the end. But it's not about him. But I love Terrell.
Look, at the end of the day, I don't mind making this a Terrell Anderson PSA because we are looking at legislation that is going to be revamping the system as it relates to the psychiatric exam to meet people where they are. Yes, if you talk to most black men in our community to ask if they are fearful of the police, the answer is going to be yes, if they have ever had any interaction or not. Because just in the same way we are trained to be afraid of dogs, it's historic. We don't like ropes. There's certain things that symbolizes 400 years of slavery within our community, and it's just embedded in us. And so at the end of the day, those tests have to be more culturally competent in order to make sure that the diversity of our finest police force in the world is able to look like the people that they are there to protect.
There's been a tremendous amount of violence in Brooklyn, actually New York City, in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. 11 people shot in Brooklyn in the club, 5 people shot in the Bronx at a basketball game, 4 shootings in an 8-hour period in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens. It just had a It's insane. I know one thing, how you feel about this crime, and you doing something that no one else in America is proposing. And I'm telling you here on Corey's Corner, if this goes through, you are going to be you're going to be on every major network because it's going to work. So let's talk about this legislation that you're proposing that I truly believe will help deter crime.
Well, a lot of folk have been talking about, you know, the right to bear arms, And, you know, I'm a little girl from the South, right? And we know that, you know, as much as we hate to admit it, guns are a part of the American lifestyle. And so there are many people who are focusing on making it impossible to be able to obtain a gun.
Never gonna work.
Including New York State, you know, the background checks, making things harder. And I believe in all of those things. But then there's this idea about why not tax the bullets, right? And when we're able to do that, they can go into a victim impact fund that we can truly be able to reinvest also back into communities once, this fund is quite frankly set up. And when people start taxing bullets, the same way they don't, like to share cigarettes, people are going to be more conscious about, how willy-nilly it is that their interactions are with guns, with weapons, with bullets, quite frankly.
I'm telling you, I think we had this conversation before. I've been
have.
screaming to the top of my lungs for any politician that will listen. Forget the guns. You're not going to be the Second Amendment, these NRA, they not doing nothing with those guns. I don't care what you say, but you tax the bullets. Make it so hard to get the bullets that it don't matter how many guns they have.
Well, what they said, they're going to come up against that one too.
They are.
So, we are definitely prepared.
You got to fight. It's going to be a big fight, but if it passes, you're gonna be the face.
Because guns kill people, but it's really the bullet.
Guns don't kill people, bullets do.
Right.
That's the statement. Guns don't kill people, bullets do. I love this, and my producer's over there screaming at me, so I gotta get out. He's screaming at me.
We're gonna make this is a two-part segment.
Yeah, screaming at me with sign language. But let's finish this up. What's your vision for a more just and equitable New York City? Last question.
One that invests in communities, which recognizes that, again, as I said earlier, the safest communities have the most resources, not the most police officers. Giving every student access to a quality education. Making sure that your zip code does not determine the type of health care that you receive, ensuring that all of the services that are provided in the Upper West Side that is also being given in the corners of Brownsville and East New York. And equity is not equality. It means meeting people where they are. Some people may need to, but some people may need 2 and some people may need 22. And it doesn't mean that it's not fair. It doesn't mean that it's not equal, but it does mean that it's equitable.
Assemblywoman, before we wrap, is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't covered?
I'm also the secretary of the New York State Democratic Party. I believe that, Black women, of course, is the core of the state electorate. My role there is to ensure that the voices of the voiceless is always on the table, is always there as a platform, and to lift up other women who want to get involved in electoral politics. And I always want to, make sure that people know that even if, as I'm also chair of the Election Law Committee, even if you were on parole, and you are no longer doing time, that you can register to vote and vote. People are talking about, the DSA movement and this movement and that movement. Mm-hmm. Suppose people who were just as involved registered to vote and voted. A number of the things that we've been fighting for won't be an issue. And so to that brother who's out there who, don't think that, they think because they got a felony they can't vote, yes, you can. Yes, you will, and I hope that you do. Register to vote.
How can people follow you if they're looking to follow you on social media?
Awesome. I can be found on all social media platforms at The Real Latrice Walker. And always remember that our platform, what we stand behind, is to agitate, advocate, legislate, and litigate.
Assemblywoman Walker, thank you for being so open about your policy and your personal experiences. From bail reform to family, from Brooklyn to Albany, you've shown us heart and the fight it takes to lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. For our listeners, if you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, promote, and share. It's another episode of Corey's Corner. Just remember, until next time, keep grinding, keep fighting, and always remember, it's not about where you start, it's always about where you finish. I'm Corey Pegues, and I always keep it right, not real. Peace.
Once a cop, let it knock, yeah. I for one think we should celebrate redemption instead of condemning it. Corey Pegues, what up? Talking truth, bruh. Check it out. Once a cop.